the curious thing about this is that, you know, when you start being and acting, not acting, but behaving and listening from the heart, listening from that love space, and really feeling the pressure lift when you do this, and it's a liberating feeling. You actually start becoming a teacher. People start really listening to you. They feel it. They sense something there. Something resonates with them, because truth is across the board. People will feel it, even if it's minuscule. But when you start to really, really absorb and live from this place as much as possible, people will feel it, and you'll draw people into your space that want to know more, and then you share with them what you know, and you see them start to unfold, and it's just the most beautiful process. So all of a sudden you're speaking this, and it affirms it even deeper and even stronger. And honestly, I believe that Source can speak through any of us. When you're that open of a channel, and you are sharing truth, and you are sharing love, and you are sharing, you know, divine perfection with somebody else, that is the finest, most loving thing you can do for somebody else and yourself. Really, it's the most loving thing you can do for yourself, because you are touching that other person in a way that connects you so deeply, that takes you to that place of oneness, that takes you to that place of just non-separation. And so when you hear yourself speaking this to somebody else and saying, you're loved, you know, you've got to love yourself, you're a divine being, or whatever it is you're telling them, the truth about them, then it integrates even more fully into you. And you go, wow, if I'm saying this to them, I really, really need to believe this. And I need to walk my talk, because I know this logically. And that's where there's a fine line between understanding and getting in the head. You can read books, you can do the studying, you can logically know all this stuff. And that's actually a very dangerous place to be. If I'm going to go back to what we were talking about the willingness and being courageous and making a decision and being committed. Because if you're only going to learn it in the head, logically, and it all makes sense there, but you're too afraid to apply it, you're too afraid to make choices that are really based on your highest good, and you stay in situations that are no longer serving you. You surround yourself with people that are not in alignment with these beliefs and these things you've come to know about yourself, and you put yourself in a confining, in the box environment. That's a tragic place to be, really. It's a very, very tragic place to be, because I liken it to sitting on a spiked fence with one leg on one side and one leg on the other, and that is not a good place to be, because you can't, you know, if you're just gonna sit there between both worlds trying to stay safe in the external acceptance and knowing what's possible and having that knowing, but just being too afraid, that's really a painful place to be. You're almost, I mean, I hate to say this, but you're almost better off being unaware until you're really ready. So I'm pretty forward about that you have to be prepared, because this is not a cakewalk, really. It takes commitment, and it takes a ton of courage, and that's where faith comes in. That's where that blind faith comes in, because it's not always visible, and things sometimes get worse before they get better. Almost always they get worse before they get better, because when you start to take on this self-love and acknowledging yourself as somebody who actually has the truth within them, and you start to dig and you start to give yourself that time and that consideration, it all of a sudden, all these things that you've repressed or ignored or didn't know were there even, shadow beliefs, these things that have just been lurking and causing havoc in your life, they come up, and they want to be noticed, and they want to be embraced. They don't want to be criticized. You know, that um, they want love. These things that are coming up, these things that are coming up because you're all of a sudden going, you know what? I'm good, and I want to feel that at the most infinite level that I possibly can. All these things go, okay, but you got to shine the light on this first, you know, and you have to recognize me. This is where I'm sad. This is where I'm hurting. This is where I'm afraid. And we all tend to, I know I do, I can tend to hide behind my gratitude and my love for life and all this to not give that pain or that sadness or whatever it is any attention, which, you know, in this process can be a good thing because you don't want to dwell there. But I think it's important to recognize these things and actually embrace them and thank them for showing up, and then releasing. You know, you certainly don't want to stay there, but these things need love. These things need love. And it's great when things come up. And actually through this whole process, initially that is really a tough thing to accept, and it freaks you out, and it makes you want to retreat. But after a while of dealing with it and understanding the process and seeing what can unfold from it, it's almost addicting. It's almost like, well, where's the pain? I want more because I want to unfold. I want to be bigger, you know? I just want to get rid of all this stuff. And so, you know, you kind of almost, for me, I didn't want to get too comfortable again, because you get comfortable in these ruts, and, you know, nothing percolates, nothing, you just get too comfortable, I guess. And it's okay to take a break in that comfort for a while too, but you just can't keep it in the head. You've got to keep it in the heart, and you have to have the courage. You don't have to do anything. You can choose. You can choose to have courage, and you can choose to have commitment, and you can choose to know you're worth it, and you can choose to say, really, what's the worst thing that can happen if I open up to believing this, you know? And that's also a good exercise too. If you're afraid of something, you know, write down, what's the worst that can happen? What is the worst that can happen? I mean, like dreadful worse. And oftentimes you just see that it's not life or death. It's just a little discomfort and trying to figure things out, and just knowing that if you are making choices based on your highest good, on that part of yourself that is pure love, and choosing things in your life that are in alignment with that, and being that the universe gives you what you need. It just does. That it brings you what you need. And you have to get out of the way of thinking you know what that is, because sometimes it doesn't look at all like what you think it should. And it's easy to sit back and say, well, I trusted and look what I got. But it's an interesting, like I said, it's a ticket to a pretty wild ride. And ultimately, when you're trusting and you have that faith, it's quite beautiful, because everything becomes less scary, and it opens so many doors in relationships,